Hi there, my name is Stephen Campbell and I am Academic Director of Aquila Initiative here in Germany in the Rhineland. And if you're like me during this time of the coronavirus outbreak, you're spending more time at home and maybe you hope to do a little bit more reading over the next weeks and months. So I thought I'd make a short video to share with you one book that I've recently finished and the other books that I am currently working on. I am often reading multiple books at the same time, but for very different reasons. So let's get started. Here is a book that I recently finished by Wesley Hill. He is a 2012 graduate of Durham University, and he is now a professor of theology and New Testament at Trinity School of Ministry in Pennsylvania. This book, published by Lexham Press just this past year, it's a brief reflection on the Lord's Prayer, clearly one of the most important texts for us as Christians. It's a great little book, and if you're interested in including some meditations on the Lord's Prayer in your personal devotions, I'd highly recommend it. And the second book, also on the subject of prayer, is this one from St. Vladimir Seminary Press. It's a collection of three pre-Nicene, anti-Nicene church fathers, Tertullian, Cyprian, and Origen. Now, on some of these cases, there's some extended reflection on the Lord's Prayer. In the case of Origen's treatise, it is on the subject of prayer more generally. And I've been thinking about prayer, I've been reading about prayer and meditating on prayer. Because in my church, where I pastor, IBC, International Baptist Church of Bonn, Germany, we are going through the Gospel of Matthew, and we're about to enter into the Sermon on the Mount, where of course, the Lord's Prayer is found. But also along with that, I've been going through this ScottMcKnight's Commentary in the Story of God commentary series on the Sermon on the Mount. And this has been a very helpful, very useful resource and very applicable for churches, for ministry, for Christian living. So I'd recommend that one as well. Now for my work at Aquila, I'm currently reading through this one a short book by N.T. Wright on the subject of the Psalms. Now, N.T. Wright, obviously, he was a former bishop in the Church of England, and he grew up in the Anglican Church. And so as a result of that, he grew up thinking about reading, meditating, praying, even singing the Psalms his entire life. So there's a lot to gain from him here. And I'm reading this to consider it as an assigned reading for my students in the Aquila Initiative. Another book that I'm reading is by Kevin Vanhoozer, also with Lexham Press. This is a follow-up, I believe, as far as I understand it, of a book he published in 2015 called The Pastor as Public Theologian. And in that book, he outlined a broad, sweeping, philosophical, theological argument for the pastors engaging the world, engaging culture as theologians for the public. Now, in this book, it becomes a bit more applicable, a bit more rubber meets the road of how he envisions that to be done, called Hearers and Doers. And I'm incorporating this book as a part of a discipleship relationship that I have here in Germany. And lastly, this is a book I've read twice already, and I'm working through it with, in my church, the small group leaders. We're going through this book together by Justo González. This book published by Eerdmans, and it is an English translation of his original work that came out in Spanish. Now, Justo is the author of a well-known and well-loved two-volume collection on church history. And in this book, he lays out a very brief, very understandable account of the 10 most important doctrines of the historic Christian faith. And it becomes, for me in my meetings with my small group leaders, it becomes an arena for having discussion about where we as a church stand, why we take certain stances on things. But in this book, I chose this book because I think Justo does an exemplary job of dealing with the difficult issues where there are often points of contention in the church. And I think he shows us a way of handling those thorny issues in a God-honoring way. Well, anyway, these are the books that I'm reading right now. I'm going to do another video later on to discuss the books that are on my stack of books to read. And it's a growing stack all the time. And I hope that in this time where you're spending more and more time at home, I do hope that you're able to do some real reading, some time in the Word, and spending a lot of time in prayer, obviously. But in all of this, my prayer is that we as a church will be prioritizing relationships, and above all, our relationship with the Lord. And I hope that you will have hours and hours of good reading in the days and weeks ahead. God bless.